Okay, so Manuela, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I was really looking forward to this chat because I think I will enjoy this a lot. I think it will be a very interesting and entertaining conversation. So first and foremost, I would like you to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about you and how did you end up in this journey towards mindfulness?
Okay, let me say also thank you for having me. It's really, I'm very happy to be here. I also think it's going to be a very good conversation. And yes, my journey is actually very simple. I was today thinking about about it, and it took a while, but it's very easy to explain. So around 12 years ago, I was in my 30s. I had a health problem. I had a Cushing, so I was a few months without working. I had to take one of the adrenals. My body was producing 10 times more cortisol than needed. So after when I returned to the job, I had to rethink the way that I was living my profession, right? Because my profession at the time was a little bit my life. I worked almost 6 days a week, and that's where I start looking for a tool that allowed me to live my life in a more conscious way. So that's where I found mindfulness. That's where I started a meditation practice, for example. I start going to retreats. I start doing mindfulness courses, and yeah, I changed completely my not only my life but the way that I approach dentistry also. In 2014, I went to Belgium to work. Uh,
Oh, sorry
Already,
to interrupt, Manuela. Sorry to interrupt. So
yeah,
before that, you graduated in Portugal, right? And you
yeah.
practice in Portugal. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I'm a dentist since 2001. I graduated in 2001 in Portugal. Sorry, I forgot that part. And in 2014, until 2014, I worked as a general dentist in Portugal. In 2014, I started to work as a general dentist also in Belgium. And one of the reasons why I moved to Belgium was already because I was approaching my dentistry practice, my profession in a different way, and the way that I was working in Portugal, or that it was not already according to my values. It was not already what I wanted from the profession, and so I decided to look for something else where I could yeah work according to my values, and so I moved to Belgium. So in Belgium, I did this mindfulness in the dental practice workshop for one day. So they have it as a part of their program in dentistry. So I took it, and that's when I realized that I could really connect both worlds. So the world of dentistry and the world of mindfulness. So I started to go a little bit deeper on it. I started to really looking for the studies, looking for the science behind it. So I applied for my mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher training that was for 2 years. I finished, and I immediately started working with dentists, and I immediately started to mix these worlds based not only in my own practice, of mindfulness, of meditation, and as a teacher of mindfulness, but also with the feedback that I started having from colleagues. I was able to adapt the whole program to dentistry, to bring all of that to dentistry. And I joined also a little bit of emotional intelligence, which I think is very important in dentistry, and we don't hear about it in dentistry. and that's it. And in the end of 2018, I was doing both things, dentistry and the courses of mindful dentistry to dentists. And in 2019, I felt it was a little bit overwhelming for me. I was not giving attention either to one or the other. And I decided to pause my clinical practice and just dedicate myself to this project that I really believe in.
Very good. So just a few questions. Do you think if it wasn't for your health issues, would you end up in this path, or you think that either way you would eventually be drawn into that? I mean, that's inside your personality, I guess. I think that sooner or later you will be probably drawn into that, even if you didn't have any health issue, right?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I'm not even sure that my health issue was due to my profession. I think maybe I was working 6 days a week, doing a lot of kilometers and not having any time for myself, completely disconnected from my body, just, an automatic pilot, just reacting to whatever was happening.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I had it.
Yeah, and you said in 2019 you stopped your clinical practice for 1 year, or you stopped ever since and you don't do any clinical practice anymore?
I stopped everything ever since, and I don't do any clinical practice anymore.
Oh, very good. So you are full-time into mindfulness. Very good. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, because to do both things, I was not paying attention the way I wanted, neither to one or the other. So you have to practice what you preach, right?
Very good. Very good. I totally support that decision.
I really believe that.
Actually, we were talking when we were preparing this discussion that you don't need to be a dentist forever, which is something that I feel that many dentists feel trapped into. But we'll go into that. Now, another question. So when dentists come over to you, and I'm sure that you are working quite a lot because you are dedicating your full time into that. When dentists, they come over to you, what is it exactly that they are looking for? What are the most common complaints? Do they know exactly what they want? Or do they feel surprised about what you do? Tell me a little bit, how do they come over to you?
Until now, my experience, I have 3 kinds of dentists, if I can call it that way, that come to me. So first, there's already a younger generation that is already very, very aware and very alert, not only because of mental health issues, but also for the importance of developing the human skills. I don't like the term soft skills, I use human skills, but they are very already aware of the importance to develop these human skills and in the profession, but as a way also to differentiate them. So there's this younger generation already looking in a very natural way for the course of mindfulness as a tool to use in dentistry. The second group are dentists that already heard of every age, that already heard about mindfulness, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and want to learn about how to apply it in dentistry, want to learn more about it, and especially how to apply it in their everyday dentistry practice. And then there's a third group of dentists that are really suffering from stress, and they are tired and they are exhausted, and sometimes even thinking about quitting dentistry. And those ones sometimes don't even know what mindfulness is. I had comments like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I need something. So this basically are the 3 main groups.
And let me try to understand the third group that you were talking about, which is basically they are like in panic mode already. I mean, and it's easy to achieve that in dentistry. It's easy to achieve a burnout. What do you think they are suffering more? Is it the excessive work, or do you think that they are not suited for the profession? Are they fed up of having to go through the human connection every day and complaints from the patient? What do you think is the main complaints that this group in panic mode comes to you?
Well, it's very interesting because because of Corona, I've been working mainly online, and
Yeah.
it allowed me to work with dentists
Yeah.
from all over the world. And the stressors are remarkably consistent across country of practice. Of course, then you have certain uh, causes that are specific from certain countries. For example, the United
Yeah.
Kingdom had
Yeah.
this suing pressure that is very
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
US has regulations and governmental control also. So there, but
Yeah.
the main stressors are consistent. So you have patients. That's
Yeah.
a big one. So causing pain or anxiety to patients, lack of cooperation from patients, managing patients' expectations,
Yes.
the communication problems with
Yes.
patients that we're going to
Yes.
talk
Yes.
today. It's a big one. Patients not opting for the ideal treatment, so the treatment that they want. Then you have time management. It's a big one also. So running behind schedules, emergency appointments on the agenda, then they don't know what to count on, canceled or late appointments, too heavy workloads that they feel it's too much. Then you have, of course, the factors that are related to the dentist's own emotions, and this is always,
Yes.
the striving for technical perfection, the fear of
Yes.
failure and complaints,
Yes.
the financial
Yes.
pressure, of course, the
Yeah.
isolation, because dentistry is a profession that you can become quite
So
isolated.
it's a full list of issues that
Yeah,
I think that every dentist that listens to you can eventually relate to.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it's sometimes it's even scary. And do you think that most of your dentists, they come from private practice, or some of them they are hospitally based? Do you think there's a
Private.
difference? Yes.
Well, I mean, in the United Kingdom, you have
NHS. Yeah.
yeah, and they have a lot of, of stress also. But the dentists that come to me are basically
From
private
private practice.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which has its own particularities.
yeah.
And you mentioned presenting treatment plans. How can it be stressful? Is it a pressure to sell? Are dentists being afraid to talk about money? Because one thing, like we were talking, it's different to be working in an hospital, and I think that's also a big difference between social medicine and private dentistry. Because when you are in a hospital, you don't have to deal with the management stuff, and I think that there is something that really differentiates, and I think it frustrates some of the dentists, that the pressure of having to convince the patient to do some sort of treatment. And I think that especially in the early age, which is something that I struggled a lot, I always suffer this pressure. And we can talk a little bit about that in the interview. But do you think that this pressure it is different from a dentist or a doctor that works in an hospital that does social medicine, that does not have to convince the patient to the treatments? Because I had some associates that work with me that said that they quit the dentistry because they didn't want to deal with the responsibility of having to convince the patient to do something, which they shouldn't do because they are treating a health issue. But dentistry has this particularity, isn't it? Because you are talking
Yeah.
about you are placed into you are slowly placed, and if you are not careful, you may end up feeling yourself like a salesman. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Dentistry is special because it's medical, but it's also commercial. So it has a technical part and it has the human part, right? The human emotional part. So if you just look or focus in one of these parts, you will be for sure missing a part, and you will not be able
Yes,
to find the balance.
I agree.
So that's
I agree
why
with that.
dentistry is like sometimes the perfect storm, right? So you
It's
have
good.
all these
It's
four
beautiful.
factors, and then to these four factors, you add all those factors that I just said before of the stress, that it's not only one, sometimes it's all at the same day, right? So patience and time management and emotions, right?
Yeah.
So that's why dentistry is special, and that's
Special.
why it's classified as for high risk in stress, right? So,
And you were
yeah.
saying that there needs to be a balance. So there is also the commercial part. Either you like it or not. I mean, you can deal it better. What would be your recommendations to better deal with this commercial issue? Sorry if I interrupted, but you can go on with
No, no, no,
with your
no,
thought.
no, 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 it's okay. The you have the secret is just like you said, not to feel like a salesperson, right? So
It's
you
true
have to
because
inform your patient. You don't have to sell treatment plans. You have to be assertive. And right, so if you prepare well, if you done your work well, if you are
yes,
confident on the treatment plan
yes,
that you are delivering, if you are confident that you are able to perform the treatment plan that you are delivering, right? You will inform your patient. You will be honest, you will be yourself, you will be confident, and you will not feel like a salesperson. So,
and Manuel, this is what you just said was something that I think is probably one of the biggest takeaway, especially for young dentists, is that, to give you an example, one of the talks that I sometimes have with patients when I'm presenting them, because sometimes I'm trying to lower the stress in the room when we are talking about treatment plans, and money is telling, look, I am not selling anything. I am here to inform you. And either if you accept it, if you don't accept it, this is not the important thing like right now. The important issue is that you clearly understand the diagnosis and what is my suggestion for treatment plan. You may eventually not even do it with me. You can do it elsewhere. But today I just want to have an honest and open conversation with you. And for me, that small trick completely lowers the stress in the room for me and for the patient, because I am no longer placed into a position where I have to sell something. And what you said is completely right. And I think that many dentists don't, they always feel that in order to be successful, they need to be selling too much. And just like you said, there's a commercial part, but it's much more important that you are completely informing the patient rather than selling anything. And do you have any, like you were saying, if you are completely aware, if you have done your homework, which means there needs to be a preparation beforehand, right?
yeah, of course. That's one of the biggest things for dentists is, and it has to do with one of the major stress causes. So time management. So you have to be able to prepare. So time management in dentistry is a big thing. So dentists still have this idea that it only counts as work when they are seated, like working inside the patient's mouth. And I can understand. I mean, it's the fun part, right? It's when you are in the flow, or at least where there are the highest chances of you to achieve that flow state. So and I think that's why everything apart from that is not so nice, and they have more resistance to it. So,
Yes. Yeah.
so but the fact is that there is a lot of work apart from the actual work inside the patient mouth that needs to be prepared in order for you to be successful when you are doing your work inside the patient's mouth. So dentists need to have time to prepare the treatment plans, to study them, to compare different options, to discuss them with colleagues if necessary, or if it's a teamwork. This cannot be done after consultations when you are tired, or it cannot be done at weekends, because at weekends you need to relax and do other things. It has to be part of your agenda. Your agenda has to have this time, right? So if you work for 5 days, 1 day or 1 morning or 1 afternoon, depending on the amount of first-time appointments or treatment plans that you have, it has to be just for you to be on your desk with your cup of tea, with all the photos and x-rays and everything. I mean, if we go more to specific, what dentists need to be aware for stress reduction in treatment plans, to make sure that they have in their agenda time for 3 very specific times. So the first one is, I mean, when they met the patient for the first time, and you said it, you described it very well on your ebook. There's that you should adjust the time, right? But if it's for comprehensive dentistry and you need to build a treatment plan, you need to have time for the photos and the x-rays and the impressions, and to talk and listen to the patient. This is very important. This builds trust. So make sure that you have the right amount of time for this. If you don't,
Manuela, let me do a small exercise to you. It's okay. I'll pretend that I am a patient, and I'm sure it happened to you. So I am a patient. I come to the office, and this is a frequent complaint, and I have a very strong opinion about that because I am completely strict with the patient. And I think that you will. So I go to your appointment, and you look, and you see I'm a complex case, and I want to have an opinion. And I say, well, look, doctor, but I would like your treatment plan now. Can you just give me a quote now? Because I really want it now. I'm a little bit in a hurry, so I want a treatment plan. I know I have a lot of things to do, but I want it as soon as possible. Can't you give me the quote today? What would you say to that kind of patient that is pressuring you?
I would say, no, sorry.
Yeah.
You have to do things right. You have to be assertive, and you cannot open exceptions. You have to build a system. You cannot open exceptions. You cannot open exceptions. Your secretary cannot open exceptions, because if you demand your secretary not to open exceptions and you do it, then she tells, and then next time she will put something in your agenda that you're not supposed to have. You have to have a system in place, and you have to all act according to it. That has to this is very, very important.
And now, Manuela, can you say no to patients in the mindful, conscious, and gracious way? Is it possible?
Yeah, that is called assertiveness. And for you to be assertive, you have to be mindful. You have to be aware of your own feelings. Assertiveness is based on you being in touch with what you are feeling. So you are going to say exactly what you are feeling. If you feel that you cannot perform a good job to that person at the time, and if you say, okay, I will open exception for you, and then you are doing it and you think, and I'm late and I'm not doing this and I did this and that, that will immediately, you will have a stress response, physiologically. So your pulse higher, your heartbeat higher, your patient is going to feel that, because our empathetic intelligence is much rapid than our intellectual one. He doesn't know why, but he will feel like something is wrong here with this person. Probably what you just did by saying yes and opening that exception was to lower the chances that that person will accept your treatment plan.
That is very interesting, because it's a paradox. You were trying to please the patient, but what will happen is that you'll actually will do the opposite, because the patient, because what they, most of the times, when they come to the dentist, they don't really know exactly what they want. They need guidance. And this is why I really like your insights on this, is because it is very important to have a system and to be able to say no in a graceful way without feeling that you are not being nice to the patient. Because there's a big issue, there's a big difference between being efficient and being excessively people pleaser, let's say it, okay? So one thing is being efficient, the other thing is trying to please everybody all the time. And there's a sentence for me, and I have to say, Manuel, that I'm a bit strict with this. I'm I'm very enthusiastic about this because, and sometimes when I talk about this, I go a little bit over the edge because I really think that people need to listen to this, which is care about other people, but don't care about what they think of you, which is a very difficult balance. I mean, I care about you as a patient. I want to treat you well. I want the best for you. I want to engage with you. I want you to feel loved. I want you to feel comfortable. But at the same time, in order for you to feel that, I may have some decisions that may not please you at this point. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that what you are saying is right. Basically, you want people to trust you. Do you want people to have the confidence to know that you can deliver, you know, and you will deliver, and you will, and they can trust you, right? But you're not going to please them.
So coming from a dentist that has been training in mindful, we are allowed to say no to the patients, or at least
you should say no.
Yeah.
You should say no. That's why I always say. Sorry. Continue.
Sometimes a no is more important than a yes, because that's what knowing what you have to do and knowing what you don't need to do is sometimes more important than knowing what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, when you say yes and you really mean no, or you should have said no, that means that you are saying yes to someone, but you are saying no to a lot of things of you, right? You are disrespecting a lot of things of you. So you are opening exceptions, you are crossing your boundaries, you are going to pay for that. You're not being assertive. That's why I always say that being assertive is much more than just saying no. Saying no is part of it, but is to say no based on what you are feel, on what you believe, right? So
on your values.
That's it.
Yeah. And so, Manuela, I really wish that when I graduated, I could have done a course with you, because it could save me so much headache, heartache, drama, emotional trauma. You have no idea, because I think that is something that every one of us go through. And I think that temptation of trying to please because of the pressure of the private practice is really something that I really wish that I had known before. And do you think that there are some dentists that are more natural at least than others, and the ones that are not as natural, can this be learned? Because, for example, I don't know, but I think that some educations or some family environments may eventually be more positive for these kinds of emotional development than others. I mean, we are not all raised the same way, and all of us have all our childhood trauma and emotional. We all have our issues, right? But some of us, either genetically or because of their education, they seem to have to go through patient communication in a more natural flow. Do you think this is learned? This is natural? What do you think?
Well, I think that all of us have our strong points, right? And not so strong parts. I think it has a lot to do with awareness. I think we must be aware of our strong points and not so strong ones. If you are aware that you are not so good with communication, for example, or that and we are talking about the treatment plans, that treatment plans bring you stress, it's very important to be aware of that. Otherwise, you just feel, you know, the worry and the fear and etc., and that will swallow you, you know. So it's very important. But it's able to develop the skills. These are skills that can be developed and they can be trained. Right, so these are skills you need to build, of course. I'm going to say again the word system because I'm not remembering the right word, but you can learn. It's just like listening to the patient in an active way. You know, active listening can be learned. You have to eliminate all distractions. You have to go in with the intention of listening to this person, but you can develop these skills.
Can you give me an example, of course, an anonymous example of a student of you that has these similar problems with patient communication, and what were his or her achievements? Can you just remember one case that comes to your mind right now, and some progress that he or she were able to do, and what were the achievements, what were the obstacles that they could overcome?
Mhm. Um, I was talking about active listening. Active listening is a big one, because when they do the course, one of the sessions is just about talking and listening, right? And I think that they realize that they because when we hear someone, we are not really listening, and so I give all these coordinates that they have to follow, and then I say, okay, during this week your assignment is going to just to listen in a mindful way to one person. Just you choose one patient, you feel it inside, say, okay, I really need to listen to that patient, because by that time they already have this body mind connection, and that of course you don't have to listen to everything that the patient say, but as a professional, you start to have this, okay, this I need to listen, And so I tell them, you have to choose one patient, listen to your gut feeling, and listen in this way, in a mindful way, in an active way. So, eliminating all distractions, not thinking what you're going to say next, just listening, observing body language, etc., being aware of your own thoughts and body language, all of that, for them to put that in practice. And the week after, the results are amazing. I have cases of, from that moment on, it's like he completely relaxed and he let me do everything. It's like I had this case of a colleague that had a person coming from the jail to this big man, the jail, and very stressful and very, and then she felt and she listened to him, and she said it was just a big man wanting attention because he was in pain, So it really...
That comes to the next question, which is, what do you think patients really want when they are being presented a treatment plan? Is it only the money that they want to hear?
No, they want, and there are recent studies about this, because it's a completely different situation nowadays. Because before we had like the doctor as a god, right? And everything, it could not be questioned. And now people want to know what the best decision is for their body. It's like the situation is different, right? So according to the recent studies, patients want to feel that they are part of it, that they want to take part on choosing the treatment plan. So they want to feel that they were heard and that their opinion was taken in consideration. And here it's important, it's very interesting, because if they feel like it's the best option, money actually goes down on the chart.
Yes, very interesting.
So they also expect for you to have the required time for the consultation, for you to demonstrate empathy, for you to answer their questions. And probably because, of course, they assume that you are competent and that you know that you are what you are talking about. So the technical part, they when they do make questions, the subject is more about the practical aspects of their life. So the little impact that the things are going to have in their life. Like, for example, how many times do I have to come to the practice until this is done? When am I going to have this ready? When I'm going to have my new smile? So the practical things that are going to have a deep impact in their lives are the most asked questions. And also they want to feel that they are going to be supported through all the process. And this support is that they are going to be able to trust you, that you are going to deliver. They want to feel that, of course, you care, and also that it's not only a transaction, that you will enjoy what you're doing, you are confident and you will deliver. So basically what patients really want nowadays is that, and especially when you are delivering a treatment plan, is they want to be able to make an informed decision for what is best for them and to trust you.
Yeah, and there was something that you said that really got my attention, because the pressure of time. I have made a decision for about 10 years ago in my practice to see less patients and to dedicate more time to the patient. And this is scary in the beginning, especially in a small country like Portugal, where you have a lot of financial issues. So let's say a young dentist in Portugal wants to do that decision, and he's working in like a chain of practices, like insurance-based clinics and stuff like that. And for me, when they ask me that, well, I usually say them, look, if you are working in a practice where your boss, let's say, it would give you the opportunity, I mean, you can go to your boss and say, look, I am willing eventually to, in the beginning, do some initial examinations for free. You don't have to pay me, but I want to be able to do what is right. And if it works, then you pay me accordingly. I mean, some people may eventually be open to that, but I don't think that's the vast majority. And this is why, and I may be a little bit blunt with this, but if you are working in a practice or in a situation that is not making you happy, I think that you should consider going to other country and practice dentistry that is more within your values. Because if they ask you to see 20 patients a day, you cannot place into practice what we are saying, because, okay, so you are talking about having time, but I am forced to see 20 patients a day. So you either do something to change that situation, or you get out of that situation. Because the worst thing that you can do is that in your 20s, you work for half a dozen years in a situation that you really hate. And I think it's much better to go someone, well, you may eventually need to go away from your family for a few weeks or a few months at a time. But look, in Europe, you can fly in 2 hours to Lisbon or to Porto. So you can go by car from Lisbon to Porto in 2 hours. You can fly from all over Europe in 2 hours. And this is something that I'm really, I really believe. I think that people should actually search what makes them happy. For example, you went to practice in Belgium. Do you think this is a valid advice that I'm giving them, or do you think that I should that they should just insist in staying in a country where the professional situation does not give them guarantees of applying all these things we are talking about?
No, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And sometimes, I mean, especially, of course, when you are starting and you have more freedom. But I mean, it was the reason why I came to Belgium. Of course, when you are starting. Also, you mentioned a very important thing. I think the dentistry needs mentoring nowadays. It doesn't have. I think in Portugal it doesn't have. You still see it in countries like Belgium and Holland, but mentoring is very, very, very important. And I think that especially in the beginning of your career, you should have time. And I can give you an example of a colleague in Belgium, and he told this story recently. So I'm not making any saying anything personal from him, because he told the story in public. So he was working in his early careers, in his early stage of his career. I mean, he's still young. He's not even 30 years old. So, but when he started, he's from Holland. When he started, he was working 5.5 days, right? So Monday to Saturday, and he realized that he had no time. He wanted to start a family, etc., move in with his girlfriend, and he realized that he plays the guitar, etc. He didn't have time for his things. Okay, I'm not going to do this. So what he did is he reduced the 5.5 days. He was working in 3 practices on those 5.5 days. He reduced to 4 days just in one practice, right? And what he found out is that by doing that, he had much more focus on this place. And the only thing that was demanded on this practice was just do your dentistry right. do your dentistry right. If you need to a whole morning with the patient, you have a whole morning with the patient. This is the rule, do your dentistry right. And he took the time to do his dentistry right. So he grew, and this change again gave him a lot of focus. And the end of the month, he starts seeing that his revenue was higher from the 4 days than the 5.5 days. Right?
Absolutely.
So we
Absolutely.
start to earn more money. And the only reason why, and he said it in public, the only reason why was this happening was because he was doing things with focus, taking the time to do the procedures right, and also taking the time for his patients. So of course, the clinic measures the percentage of treatment plans accepted, and he had 99, almost 100% of treatment plans accepted. And again, the only reason that this was happening was because he was sitting there just with his t-shirt, and Nikes, and being a genuine person and explaining to patients in a very simple language, because he understood what was happening, and he also understood what he wanted to do, how he wanted the procedures to work, and very honestly explaining, right? And this makes dentistry so much easier and so much nicer. And
so much fun.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
Much
And
more.
And you earn more, but better than you earn more is that you are coming home as a nice, honest person, with energy, because you had a lot of pleasure of what you did in a daily basis. And this
there's no
person
money.
is a,
There's no
yeah.
money that can pay that.
And this person is not even on his 30s, and he's a very successful dentist and is a speaker in Holland. So this, of course, can be done. I don't know. We were talking about the Portuguese situation. I don't know if it can be done in Portugal. I think, like I said, there's a lot of mentoring missing. There's a lot of is missing these people that say to these young people, okay, the only rule here is do your dentistry right. I don't.
So cool.
That's
so cool. And I have a lot of I give a lot of courses, and I interact with a lot of people in their 20s, and one of the things that frustrates me the most is trying to teach all these concepts, and also being aware that the probability that they will be able to, the technical part that they will be able to practice is very low. And this is why in some of the courses, and this is why I also invited you to come and see if we can do something together, is that I always try to talk about these important decisions that you have to make early in your life. Either it is to choose different practices, even it is to choose to limit the number of days that you practice so that you can focus more, see less patients with higher quality. And in the most of the situations, you will earn more and you will be happier, and you will come home, as you said, much happier. And I really look forward that you come to Portugal to so that we can do something together, because I think it will be really funny, and I think we could help lots of dentists. Okay, some of the questions here. So you talked about training the whole process. So you said you have to have a system.
Yeah.
What do you think is more important? To have like a written system, or to have meetings, or to have both? What do you think is, because I do both meetings and I do both written systems, and for me both they are equally important, and they have to be done regularly in order that everybody is on the same track. What do you think about that? So it's not just a situation of mental attitude or emotional attitude, is also preparation beforehand with both meetings and written protocols, right?
Yeah. So two secrets about time, about stress reduction in dentistry: good time management and a lot of anticipation. So a lot of preparation. So the more you anticipate and the more you prepare, the better, because you will reduce stress in the practice. So these two combined, they will equal, of course, automatization. So if you combine good time management and preparation or anticipation, then you will start to have an automatization of the process. So the more automatized that the process is, the more time you save. because it will make the process more comfortable. The stress will be reduced for sure. So you should build protocols and you should implement them. The more established these protocols are, that you know already what to expect, your staff also, it makes everything run smoother, right? And this is particularly important. We already talked about it and you said it yourself now, that you don't do the work alone. So it's a teamwork. So your assistants, your colleagues, you should all work with the same guidelines. Otherwise, it doesn't. You send mixed messages. So these processes should flow in a natural way for everyone. Your practice will have a system, and you will know how things are done, and everyone will know. Everyone will have the same guidelines. So.
I'm a big fan of systems. And I think that whenever I talk about systems and protocols to dentists, and not only in Portugal, but I think
it's
that
boring,
dentistry in general, it's boring for them, and they don't see the point of that. But for me, I would not have been, for me, there was a big change that happened in my life about 5 years into my practice, after coming from London and after having met a few people, that completely changed the approach of having a system in place and making me just an element of the practice. I am not the practice is not me, I am just an element of the practice, and the practice as a whole, the team is always more important than myself. And for me, that completely changed the way that I approach dentistry. And for me, I think the biggest advantage that I saw was it completely dramatically reduced all the drama and all the emotional issues that can easily develop inside a team as it grows, especially in dentistry. And for me, that was a complete game changer once I started to reintroduce the system mindset, really. Okay.
Can I just say one thing? Just make sure, and this is something that I watch quite often. It's that sometimes we are demanding things from our team that they don't know how to do. So what do I mean from this? If you want, of course, a patient-centered dentistry, if you want a practice that has this systems that work in that flow, you should also provide this kind of education to your staff, right? So people don't know this. They have to be taught. So to pay attention when the other person is speaking, the tone of voice, body language, people don't know this. And sometimes we watch colleagues demanding this from their staff, but okay, then did they know this? Did you give them a course or something? Because there are courses for this, and usually they make an excellent team building time, these courses. So make sure that your staff knows how to do these things that you are demanding from them. This is very important, because sometimes it's like we are demanding things from people, and we think these are so basic things, you know, everyone knows how to speak or to hear or this. No, this has to be taught. This has technique. These are techniques, so they need to be taught and they need to be learned.
And there's this expression that I really like, which is you have to find time to work not in the practice, but on the practice. You have to find time to work on your business, which means saving a morning or an afternoon of the week that you are not seeing patients, you are only taking care of these issues slowly. And my advice, if you want to start a small revolution in your practice, is to do a meeting with every single member of the team and look, I think that we can do better. I want to hear what you think. I'm thinking about implementing some systems, and I would like to hear your feedback. What do you think? And an honest feedback, and having your chest open to critics, which is very difficult, of course, because we all have our ego. but making sure that people have the freedom to let you look, I don't like this. I think that sometimes you steal patients from me. And because I think if there's this saying, which is, if they plan the fight, they will not fight the plan. So if the planning that you are doing is with everybody taken into consideration, they will not sabotage it. So if they plan the fight with you, they will not fight the plan. And for me, I think this is the best way to start, to call everybody, do a small meeting and say, look, we are going to do some changes here. I'm going to get some education for you. I can give it myself. I'm going to reserve a part of my week to take care of these things, because the goal here is not necessarily to make more money. It can eventually be that, but it is, I want to have a better time outside the clinic and inside the clinic, which is probably what we are all looking for. We are not looking for money. Most of the times we are looking for time and happiness, and sometimes it's closer than we think.
Yeah.
So I think we are completely on the same path.
Yeah, just
really.
make sure that those meetings, like you said, have their own time. Because if you say, in the end of the day, or when we have time, or whatever,
Absolutely.
no.
Absolutely.
It's like you said, you have to have time to work on your practice. Otherwise, it's big, and that's the reason why sometimes I see these practices and they they complain that they cannot go a little bit further, because for you to be able to go further, you have to have the systems, you have to have this time to work on your practice, because then we know, of course, dentistry has already all this stress things, so there will be things happening during the day, but if you have to worry just spending your day just reacting, and then the end of the day you're going to have a meeting with your staff, you're not going to be able to do it. So
I
really prepare, really have the time.
Yeah. And there's this question that I think is universal in dentistry. There are many dentists that don't get over the fact that patients don't see them as true doctors, or sometimes they wanted to be doctors and they ended up dentists and they start to hate it. Well, I think that, and this is a theory that I have. I don't know if you agree with me, but I'm sure there are some people that's going to dentistry that they don't like it, and I think that they should change as soon as they can. But I also think that our dentists that want to be doctors, but they are not fully appreciating what all the benefits that dentistry can bring to them, because there's a mix of doctor, engineering, psychologist, entrepreneurship, and you can also take care of your own time. Because sometimes when I talk with some dentists, I tell them, look, would you really want to be a doctor, to have like 30 days of vacation, to have someone watching over you and you have no control of your time, or are you thinking about being a doctor only for the status, because your father wanted you to be, because your mother wanted you to be? If you really take a look and stop and appreciate whatever dentistry can bring to you, look, patients can appreciate you. You can see emergencies, you can do oral surgery, you can do complex surgery, you can operate in a theater, in a surgical room if you go into surgery. I mean, most of the things that you can do in medicine, dentistry can eventually give it to you. But so are you more focused on the status, or are you actually focused, or why aren't you focused on actually being present of what dentistry can give to you? Because sometimes I think that is more of an attitude. And if that person was in medicine, you would still be miserable anyway. So do you think that sometimes people are missing the joy and the wonderful thing that dentistry can be? Because yes, dentistry is limited, but in a certain way, but in other way, it's not. Look at you. You are a mindful training dentist, isn't it? How cool is that? You are not even seeing patients. So you went through dentistry to do something which is amazingly cool, and you are not even seeing patients. So I think that dentistry can bring to you whatever you try to find in it. And it's not by going to sometimes to changing a profession, because some other professions are much more limiting than dentistry. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm going to start by the end. Yes, I think that dentistry has a lot of possibilities and it's starting to open up. It's starting to
Yeah,
open up. And it's funny because when I started to think, because it was a very well thought decision and it was that took much time. It was not one day I woke up and said, I'm going to stop my clinical practice. No, but I realized that when I thought about stopping my clinical practice, it was like, I'm going to stop working. And I had to change, it says, no, I'm going to continue to work, just doing a different thing,
of course.
So, and still in dentistry. So the thing is that dentists still have this they are still very hardwired that this is all I can do. This is it. This is all I can do, right? And then if you add to that the fact that there's no self-awareness, or okay, little self-awareness, I think dentists have no self-awareness. And then they cannot distinguish between being exhausted or drained, sometimes even depressed, burned out, because they are not practicing the dentistry that they would like, right?
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
distinguish that from not liking what they do.
Absolutely.
They are too wrapped around.
Can you repeat that? Because I think it's really important. So they confuse what?
They confuse being exhausted and drained, sometimes even burnout and depressed, because they are not practicing the dentistry that they would like.
Which is really important. I mean, if you may eventually doing something that you like, but even if you are completely exhausted, you will not be able to appreciate it.
Yeah, and sometimes you are just too wrapped around the excuses. It's the patient, and the patients are rude, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And you are missing the whole point is the way that you react to patients. So dentists still didn't make that shift. That's for example what the
You know what I
mindfulness courses brings
you
them.
know,
This awareness.
you know You know what I think about dentistry? Because in the first years, I applied to medicine and then I went to dentistry. And when I had the chance to change to medicine, I chose dentistry because I want to start working as soon as possible. And one of the things that sometimes I think is look at the amount of cool stuff that I would have completely missed if I went into medicine. Of course, I could open up a lot of opportunities, but dentistry can actually open you so many doors in terms of, I mean, you can go to education, you can do some remote dentistry, you can do more hands-on dentistry. There's so much stuff that you can do, and there's so much control that you have. And one of the cool things that I find about dentistry is, like you said, because there's so many challenges, it challenges you so much that it's a great profession that you can grow yourself into, because there's so many challenges that sometimes there's a mix of challenges that you don't find in any other profession. Because if you thrive in dentistry, you can thrive everywhere, basically.
Yeah,
Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with you. And going back to that, to the first part of your question about that dentists sometimes feel like the profession is not valued like others doctors. So, but maybe patients are not the ones that don't value the professions. Maybe it's us.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
this is the shift that we need to do. Maybe it's not the work overload or the agenda or running always late. I mean, COVID is, I give this example now all the time, to demonstrate the lack of self-awareness of dentists. I lost the number of colleagues coming to me saying, look, since I got back to work with COVID, I have no stress anymore because I had to see less patients, more time. So, and these were people with 20 years of profession like me. I said, and you could not see that by yourself. It needed a world pandemic for you to discover that. You could not change that by yourself. So it's a big lack of self-awareness. What this lack of self-awareness leads to, it's that they keep on reacting, really reacting, spending their day on automatic pilot, just reacting to whatever the day throws at them. They are not able to bring the response. They are not able to bring an accurate response. And the thing is that, and you talked about the ego, and it needs courage. I know it needs courage. It needs to, access that place of vulnerability or emotion. Sometimes you need really to suffer. But the ego wants the self-protection. It wants the admiration, it craves that, right? But because of that, it's completely like, it's just like Brené Brown says, it's completely armed, right? And it has no curiosity. And I have so many dentists. I think I told you this the other time that we talked. I have so many dentists coming to me and complaining, and this and that and that and that. And then when I talk about the course, and you say, just try it, just bring your curiosity, just out of curiosity, and try it. But the thing is that, like, what if I discover something about myself or something about what's going on here, and it's uncomfortable, and now I understand it, and I'm going to have to change something. What if that happens? What if I discover that I don't like what I do? That's uncomfortable. So, okay, I'm not curious, let it be. I'm just going to keep on complaining. So if something is, you're not happy about, that something needs change, and everyone knows it, but sometimes you hide, so I think that if we bring I say it often, I said, that's my mission. It's bringing self-awareness to dentistry, emotional intelligence, because I think it's such a tool that it's needed in dentistry. And I think that it would completely change the way that dentists approach dentistry. It would completely change the way that dentists reach the end of their day, instead of feeling with this heavy weight on their shoulders. Imagine, I always say this, imagine reaching your day with energy and happy about yourself and having the freedom to be yourself, just be yourself. It's just
absolutely,
like Djokovic said Friday when he beat Nadal, and they asked him, what about the next? He said, I don't care about the next. I just want to get better at my character and get better at my game. And that's it. You are not there to sell treatment plans. You are there to get better at your character and get better at your dentistry. But then you get wrapped around.
I really wish I had someone like you that in my 20s grabbed me and said, look, you have to read this, you have to practice this, and you have to think about this, which is something that most people don't think about. And I am 100% in agreement with you. And I really think that your choice of dedicating yourself fully to improving the self-awareness of dentists and emotional intelligence and mindful in dentistry, I really think is something needed. I think there's a big gap there, and I really wish you all the best in that mission. So Manuela, just to wrap it up, where can people find you? Which kind of courses do you do? So before that, let me tell you that I really look forward to do something either online or offline. I'm really looking forward to do something special with Manuela, and I really hope that we can find something that we can do together. I think it will be very, very, very interesting. But which are the things that you are doing right now? Do you offer courses? Is it online? Is it presential? Which activities are you involved with? Because if you are dedicating yourself full time, you are obviously working a lot in this area, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm working mainly online nowadays. I hope slowly to get back to live courses, which I miss. I miss the human touch very much. But now it's basically online still. I run, my courses are always 8 weeks courses. So every week you have a 2.5 hour session, and then you have homework to do, because you have to apply all these concepts and study them. But you need to do this journey, right? So this is a little bit about, of course, not only awareness, but after awareness, you have to bring aligned action. So this is a journey, and that's why it needs time. So you can find me at mindfuldentistrytraining.com. I recently work with the form of dentistry, which is Karma Dentistry. And they are this group of dentists. They are very young. They have this very good philosophy of dentistry as it should be. So they use mindfulness as a cornerstone of their work. They invited me to record the course. So the course is recorded there in English. Every week I have a mindful dentistry training live session with them and with the persons that are attending the course. And then now I have inscriptions for a course in Portuguese, because sometimes I have this resistance from Portuguese dentists because it's in English. So, so I have a group starting in September, only in Portuguese. And then I work also in an individual one-to-one. So if, for colleagues that don't want to do the course in group, that want just the personal mentoring, I also work with clinics. So if you want to implement, if you want to make mindfulness a cornerstone of your work as a team, so we give the course for the whole practice. And usually when I do that, I go to the clinic. Then after the course is over, one day for us to see this in a practical way. I already have that one of that for a clinic in Holland next year. So I'm very happy to slowly get back to the field again, because I love going to practices. I miss it. I feel home when I'm there. So, but yeah, you can find me also in Instagram, mindful.dentistry, and yeah.
Very good, very good. So let me see if from the guys in the participants. So do you have any questions that you like to ask Manuel or even me? Do you have anything that you think that you should, you want some specific?
There's someone here saying that here in Portugal is too risky working only one boss. We don't have job contracts. Yeah. That's what I was saying, that in Portugal, there's this mentoring figure missing.
There's lacking. Yeah. So why not change? Why not work? Why not try to go and work abroad? I know this is sometimes when I say this so objectively to people, sometimes they think, well, but you are a teacher. What you should do is you should actually give me tools to be able to succeed in Portugal. Well, but sometimes you really have to change your, if you want like Manuela was saying, if you want to practice dentistry that is within your values, and if you don't find it in Portugal, I'm not saying that you cannot find it, but it's more difficult because of the economic situation, because of the excess of professionals. Why not go to Belgium, Netherlands, France, Switzerland? You are 2-3 hours. I know it's difficult. I know it's not an easy decision, but at the end of the day, you have to see what actually is more important for you, because most of the best decisions in life were not easier in the beginning. They were always messy in the beginning. And this is something that you have to decide on an individual basis and see for yourself and with your family, with your wife, with your husband, with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, and with your kids, and decide for yourself. It's not something that you can decide in one moment, but you really have to think what makes you happier, because at the end of the day, we only live a few dozens of years here, and you have to make sure that you live them at your best, because I am 40s and I am sure, well, that I'm not sure, because I still have this hope that I'm still going to live the best years of my life, but 40 years have passed, and if you are not happy in your 20s, and if you spend too much time not being happy in a situation, I really think that you should do some changes and see what's the best change for you. If you really want to stay in Portugal, if you think dentistry is not the way, then you can do something else. It's not the end of the world leaving dentistry. The goal here is not practicing dentistry even if you don't like it. The goal here is for you to be happy, and that's the main goal. I don't know if there is any other question. Anyone else that would like to ask a question? Okay, I think there are no more questions. So, Manuela, thank you so much. I really enjoyed having talked to you, and
Thank you.
I really wish you all the success in this journey. I am pretty sure that's the feeling that I have, that you are a very authentic person in trying to implement very authentic ideas, which is something that is not very common. And I am 100% sure that you will thrive and you will feel very rewarded in this path that you have chosen. So thank you so much. I look forward to working closely with you. So in September, I hope that you come to see my lecture on management, and I really hope that we can do something together, and that will be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
so guys, thank you
sure.
so much for listening.
You.
We are recording this webinar, and we will be dropping some snippets, some insights, and I think that you will all like it. So if you want to contact Manuela, you know where to find her. She's on Instagram, on LinkedIn, mindfuldentistry.com, right?
Mindfuldentistrytraining.com. But
mindfuldentistrytraining.com.
You for sure find me, because there's not a lot of mindful dentistry. So.
Okay, so thank you so much, Manuel. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys. Take care. See you next time.